As the sun sets over the dark and murky waters of Lake Lanier, an eerie silence depends upon the lake's shores. But this peaceful facade belies a long history of hauntings and unexplained phenomena that have plagued the area for decades. Some say the lake is cursed, haunted by the ghost of those who perished during its creation. Others claim that the lake is doomed by desecration to the graves it covered and haunted by the Native American tribes and the town of African Americans that were forced out to build the lake. One of the most well-known stories is that of a lady of the lake, a ghostly figure that is said to haunt the waters of Lake Lanier. The lady of the lake wears a blue dress. She appears to be missing both her hands. She spends her time wandering up and down the bridge outside of Gainesville on Dawsonville Highway. The lady in the blue dress was Delia Parker Young. According to legend, it was April of 1958 and Delia Mae Parker Young was traveling with Susie Roberts to Three Gables, a local roadhouse in Dawsonville, Georgia. Susie was driving her 1954 Ford across the Dawsonville Bridge over the Lanier Lake when, for some unknown reason, lost control of the car, crashing off the right abutment of the bridge. Divers entered the lake and searched the area, but neither the vehicle nor any remains were discovered. The physical evidence of the occurrence was a set of skid marks, suggesting that the women's car went into the lake. Then, a year later, 1959, a fisherman discovered human remains that had floated to the surface of the lake. Further examination yielded no obvious cause of death, and the individual could not be positively identified at that time. The body was noted to be missing both hands and several toes. Many assumed that these were the remains of either Delia or Susie, but it was impossible to know for sure. 31 years passed before Susie Roberts' 1954 Ford was finally found. It was November of 1990 when the lake bed was dredged in preparation to set the foundation for pillars of a new bridge. Unexpectedly, the shell of a rusted car was discovered, with human remains still inside, behind the wheel. Through the personal belongings found in the car, a purse, rings, and a watch, Susie Roberts was able to be identified. And in light of this discovery, it was concluded that the young woman found decades earlier was, in fact, Delia Mae Parker Young. For 3 decades, Susie Roberts was trapped in her car, hidden under more than 90 feet of water. Having come to a rest on a steep slope, stuck within the tree trunks, mud, and other detritus that make up the bed of Lake Lanier, but now she could finally be properly laid to rest. It is this tragedy that has been the foundation of the most eerie legend associated with Lake Lanier, the apparition of a young woman in a blue dress that has purportedly been seen time and time again, walking up and down the length of Dawsonville Bridge. And according to those who have seen this spirit, who has become known as the Lady of Lake Lanier, she is missing her hands. And even though both ladies have finally been given a proper burial, Delia is still seen wandering on the bridge in her blue dress. She is described as lost in the dark and searching. She is searching. But for what? I guess we will never know. But it does make for a good, spooky urban legend. Another of the numerous apparitions to reportedly haunt Lake Lanier is that of a mysterious raft seen floating on the lake late at night. Its inhabitant, a shadowy figure, pushing along with a pole, a lantern lighting his way. Those who have made claims to have seen this nautical apparition say it seems to appear and disappear form out of nowhere. One such sighting was reported by two fishermen who claimed to have seen it about 1 a.m. on a cold autumn night. The raft was spotted in a section of the lake that is known to be roughly 45 feet deep. Yet the raft's rider seemed to have no difficulty navigating the water with a pole to push him along. The two fishermen watched as the figure traveled along, before suddenly it shouted and jumped from the raft into the freezing water. Afraid something was coming for them, the fishermen quickly pulled up their lines and prepared to leave the area. But when they shined their lights across the water, there was no sign of the raft or the figure. The dark surface of the lake camp showed nothing undisturbed, as if nothing large had ever disrupted them. Okay, this one gave me the goosebumps. Another legend of Lake Lanier involves a woman named Margaret. According to the tale, Margaret was a newlywed who drowned in the lake while on her honeymoon. Her body was never found, but many people claim to see her ghostly figure walking along the shore or swimming in the lake calling out to her love. One of the most famous incidents that contributed to the lake's eerie reputation happened in 1958. A family of 5 were traveling across the lake when their boat suddenly capsized. Despite rescue efforts, only the mother's body was recovered. The other 4 family members were never found. Many people believe that their spirits are some of the many that haunt the lake. There have been many instances of teenagers partying on the lake or shore and having haunting experiences, scaring them away and adding to the legends. One such incident reportedly occurred in the late 1990s. A group of teenagers were partying on the lake when they suddenly heard a voice calling out for help. They searched the area, but found nobody in distress. However, as they were returning to their boat, they saw a ghostly figure standing on the shore. The figure reportedly vanished before their eyes, leaving the teenagers shaken and frightened. In another incident, a group of teenagers were partying on a boat on the lake when they suddenly heard a loud banging sound. When they investigated, they found that one of the cabin doors on the boat was repeatedly slamming shut on its own, despite there being no wind or no other explanation for the phenomenon. There have been many reports of different teenagers who have experienced unexplainable events while partying out at the Lake Lanier, leading many to believe that the lake is definitely haunted and not just full of urban legends. And many report some eeriness that involved the lake's history. These islands were created when the lake was flooded by the construction of the dam in the 50s. Local lore claims that the islands are cursed and haunted by the spirits of Native Americans who were displaced to build the reservoir. Visitors have reported strange noises and feeling cold spots and seeing apparitions. Those who believe these tales to be true believe the mysterious figures to be ghosts of the past, when men once traveled the shallow rivers and creeks among the foothills of northern Georgia that have since been consumed by Lake Lanier. Let's get into a little history of Lake Lanier and shed a little light on the tragedy and controversy that lurks in the shadows at the bottom of the lake. Lake Lanier is a man-made reservoir located in northwestern Georgia. It originally wasn't built for swimming and recreation. It was created in the 1950s as a part of a project to control flooding, provide hydroelectric power, and supply water to the city of Atlanta and its surrounding areas. Not being designed for swimming, it is advised to take caution when swimming there. However, the construction of the lake was not without controversy and tragedy. The process of flooding the surrounding land displaced thousands of people and destroyed homes, businesses, churches, cemeteries, and gardening. 20 cemeteries were relocated from the land, and not all were able to be relocated before the water quickly filled the land. 50,000 acres of farmland destroyed. Some people believe that the spirits of those who were buried in the cemeteries that were disturbed now haunt the lake, leading to its cursed reputation. The tragedy that happened to the town, Oscarville, was called a cleansing of a black community in the surrounding Forsyth County, and it took place in 1912. A white mob terrorized the community over 2 alleged crimes against white citizens. They beat and hanged a 24-year-old suspect named Rob Edwards and continued their violent rampage until nearly all the African American residents were forced to relocate, leaving. It would be cruel to imply that the spirits of the affected community are responsible for the deaths at the lake. However, even on the sunniest days, the air in that part of Forsyth County can feel as heavy as the past horrors that occurred there. The pain of generations past is palpable. To this day, descendants of the families driven out by the ethnic cleansing are working hard to ensure the past isn't buried at the bottom of Lake Lanier, and that the truth of what happened in Oscarville remains above the surface. In addition to the displacement of people and the disturbing of the graves, there have been numerous accidents and deaths at the lake over the years. The death count today is almost at 700. The lake has a reputation for being dangerous due to its unpredictable currents and hidden underwater hazard and sudden storms. Many people have drowned or been injured while boating or swimming or fishing on the lake. There have been many reports of strange occurrences and unexplained phenomena on the lake, including sightings of ghostly apparitions and phantom boats and mystery lights. Some people believe that these occurrences are evidence of its cursed status. Lake Lanier was built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the 1950s. The lake covers 38,000 acres and has over 692 miles of shoreline. It is named after Sidney Lanier, a famous poet, musician, and Confederate soldier born in Macon, Georgia. The construction of this lake displaced thousands of people and flooded several towns and communities, including the town of Oscarville, which was predominantly African American. The lake is located on land that was originally inhabited by the Cherokee people before their forced removal in the 1830s. During construction, Several historic sites and Cherokee burial grounds were flooded and destroyed. And the deaths keep happening. Swimmers dive in and never resurface. Some very strong swimmers who survived near drowning describe the feeling of being pulled down by unseen forces or having the air suddenly leave their lungs and cause exhaustion. Boats crash and eject their passengers into the murk. Even the silt at the bottom of the lake is dangerous. A unique antibiotic-resistant B strain of Staphylococcus bacteria lurks in the mud, infecting divers and beachgoers with a difficult-to-treat illness. Many swimmers have become entangled by the lake weeds that submerge out of the water. And even knowing the history and all these facts, 7,000 to 10,000 people still use Lake Lanier each year. That information would definitely deter me from ever stepping a foot in that water. The history and legends surrounding Lake Lanier continue to fascinate and intrigue locals and visitors alike. While the beauty of a lake might attract many, its eerie reputation cannot be ignored. From the countless drowning incidents to the mysterious disappearances of boats and people, Lake Lanier seems to hold many secrets that have yet to be uncovered. Despite efforts to make the lake safer, it remains a place of mystery and unease. Perhaps as the sun sets and the water grows still, the spirits of those lost on Lake Lanier continue to wander, haunting the shores and the depths of the lake for eternity. Word of the curse persists in whispers and at funerals. The number of deaths is just too high. They know the history, how many people were driven off the land or murdered on it. That soil is soaked in blood. Thank you all for watching. Just a little something that I put together on Lake Lanier. I did not put all the facts. This is more of a little bit of a haunting. If you enjoyed it, please comment and share it out. And if you'd like to know more about Lake Lanier, go and research it. Thank you guys. Hope to see you guys again soon on Tales Told in the Dark.